grandparents visiting their granddaughter. But they have to pay $50 just to enter the gate? You didn't mishear. A peaceful neighborhood has suddenly become a money printing machine for a small group of powerful people. What would you do if, one day, even seeing your loved ones became something to be bought and sold? Have you ever had trouble with an hoe or known someone who was abused by their power? Share your story in the comments below. Daniel, a small business owner and a single father of 2 daughters, never imagined his life would be turned upside down by the very people who were supposed to protect the community. But then, a warning letter, an unreasonable fee, and a series of strange events pushed him into an all-out war with the HOA, an organization that seemed like just a management board but was, in reality, a corrupt and powerful force. This neighborhood may look peaceful, but Daniel was starting to realize it was more of a trap. He remembered the day he first moved in. Standing in front of his house, he watched his 2 little girls run around on the lush green lawn. Neighbors waved hello. The air felt light and welcoming. A perfect place for a fresh start, a place where his children could grow up safely. But what he didn't realize was that the moment he signed the contract to buy his home, he had also signed an agreement with an invisible force, the Homeowners Association, or HOA. It all started with a letter. That morning, Daniel was working on a customer's car when he received a white envelope with the HOA logo neatly printed in the top left corner. He tore it open, skimmed through the contents, and frowned. Maintenance fee notice, $800. Deadline, 15 days. He flipped the letter over, searching for some reasonable explanation. Maintenance for what? The neighborhood wasn't in disrepair. The park was clean, the streetlights were working, and he was sure he had never heard of this fee before. Daniel decided to call the HOA office. A woman's voice answered, cold, overly polite. Hello, Mr. Thompson. This is Miriam Caldwell, president of the HOA. How can I help you? I just got a notice about a maintenance fee, but I don't understand why. I've been paying all my monthly dues on time. There was a brief pause before Miriam responded slowly. The maintenance fee is a newly implemented charge to ensure the quality of the neighborhood. We announced it during last month's HOA meeting. Daniel frowned. I don't remember getting any notice about a meeting. Miriam let out a small laugh. You should check your mailbox more often. Something about the way she spoke made Daniel uneasy. That unwavering certainty, as if he was just another pawn in a game she had already planned out. So, what exactly is this fee maintaining? General community upkeep. If you have concerns, you're always welcome to file a complaint with the board. Miriam's tone remained unchanged, but Daniel could hear the firmness beneath her words. He took a deep breath. I'll do that. Miriam chuckled. Of course, Mr. Thompson. Just don't miss the payment deadline. The HOA has the right to enforce collection if necessary. Daniel tightened his grip on the phone. Enforce collection? Just a standard procedure, Miriam said casually. If someone fails to comply with HOA regulations, we can impose fines or, in extreme cases, proceed with foreclosure. Daniel hung up. A chill ran down his spine. This wasn't just a simple fee. This was a trap. And if he wasn't careful, he and his daughters could lose everything. The question was, what would he do next? Saturday morning, Daniel was underneath his BMW at the auto shop when his phone rang. It was his mother. Her voice was shaking, choked with anger. Daniel, they won't let me in. I just wanted to see the girls. He bolted upright, his heart pounding. Who won't let you in? The guards at the gate. They said I have to pay to visit my grandkids. Daniel gripped his phone tightly. He jumped into his car and sped toward the neighborhood. When he reached the main gate, he saw her, his 70-year-old mother, small and frail in her old knitted sweater, standing in front of the guard post, clutching her purse with trembling hands. A security guard stood in front of her, his face expressionless. Daniel slammed the brakes, jumped out. What the hell is going on here? The guard looked at him with a blank stare. According to new HOA regulations, all visitors must pay an entry fee. Your mother needs to pay $50. Daniel could hardly believe what he was hearing. $50? Just to visit her own grandchildren? Plus a parking fee if you stay longer than 15 minutes. The guard added, his voice robotic. Daniel clenched his jaw. He turned to his mother. Mom, I'm so sorry. She shook her head, eyes red. This is ridiculous, Daniel. And she was right. It wasn't just ridiculous, it was an insult. A blatant money grab at the expense of the community. Daniel turned back to the guard. Who ordered this? The guard pointed toward the HOA office. Mrs. Karen Whitmore. Daniel looked at the small office building, its shiny sign displaying the words, New Policies for Community Order. A fire burned inside him. He had turned a blind eye for too long. But now, when his mother, the woman who had sacrificed everything for him, was humiliated right in front of him, he knew he couldn't stand by any longer. Karen Whitmore had gone too far, and Daniel Thompson was going to stop her. That night, after his daughters had gone to bed, Daniel sat alone in the living room, staring at the white envelope on his table. It had been slipped under his door. No signature required. Just another silent threat from the HOA. He opened it. Inside was a fine with an absurd accusation. Violation notice. Homeowner. Daniel Thompson. Reason. Improperly parked vehicle within the community. Fine. $200. Failure to pay within 14 days will result in a doubled fee. Daniel frowned. His BMW was parked exactly where it had been for years. He knew this wasn't about parking. This was retaliation. And it wasn't stopping there. In the following days, more letters arrived. One fined him for overgrown grass, despite his lawn being neatly trimmed. Another claimed his mailbox wasn't HOA approved and had to be replaced within 30 days or he'd be fined again. A heavy unease settled over him. They were trying to bleed him dry with these bogus fees. He could refuse to pay, but if he did, the HOA could take him to court, even force him out of the neighborhood. He glanced toward his daughter's bedroom. They were still sound asleep, unaware of how terrifying the world around them was becoming. Could he fight the HOA without putting his family at risk? One morning, as he stepped outside, a neighbor quietly approached him and whispered, Daniel, I support you, but I can't help. I can't let them notice me. Daniel saw the fear in that man's eyes. It wasn't just him. This entire neighborhood was living in fear, and that only made him more determined. One late evening, as Daniel was sifting through the pile of violation notices on his desk, a knock sounded at the door. He opened it to find Mr. Raymond, an elderly man who lived on the corner of the street. He had a thin frame, reading glasses sliding down his nose, and sharp eyes that seemed to analyze everything in front of him. Daniel frowned. Good evening, Mr. Raymond. What's going on? The old man quietly stepped inside, closed the door behind him, then pointed at the stack of papers on the desk. I heard you're having trouble with Karen Whitmore. Daniel nodded cautiously. Don't tell me the HOA is sending you fines too? Raymond let out a dry chuckle. I've lived here for nearly 20 years. The HOA only became a money-sucking machine after Karen became president. He pulled a folder from his worn leather briefcase. I used to be an accountant, and I think something's off in the HOA's records. Daniel sat down and flipped through the documents. The numbers danced before his eyes, but even without being an expert, he could see the irregular expenses. This landscaping maintenance. Over $70,000 in a single year? Daniel's eyes widened. Raymond nodded. Just one example. Do you really think the grass in this neighborhood is worth that much? Daniel clenched the paper in his hand. If we can prove Karen is embezzling money from the residents, she'll lose all her power. Raymond smiled. Exactly. But not everyone wanted to help him. One night, as Daniel was secretly sending documents to a local journalist, an unexpected phone call came in. Daniel. Karen Whitmore's voice rang out, sickeningly sweet. I just received reports that you're trying to stir up trouble. He gripped the phone tightly. I just want fairness for everyone. She chuckled. Do you really think you can take down an entire system? Be careful, Daniel. I know exactly what you're doing. A chill ran down his spine. Someone had betrayed him. It didn't take Daniel long to figure out who the traitor was. One morning, as he was checking his emails, an anonymous message popped up. Be careful of your neighbor. The hoe knows everything you're doing. At that moment, Daniel looked up and glanced out the window. Across the street, Mark Sullivan, a man he had once trusted, stood on his porch, pretending not to see him. Daniel clenched his fists. Mark. He had confided in Mark about his plan to gather evidence, and now it was clear Mark had reported everything to the hoe. Not out of malice, but simply to protect himself. Karen was trying to isolate him, but it was too late to stop now. The community meeting. That evening, Daniel and Raymond decided to act before the hoe could strangle them completely. They sent out invitations to all the residents, announcing a meeting at the community center. At 7 p.m., the room was packed. Some people came out of curiosity, some out of anger, and others just to watch Daniel fail. Karen was there too, sitting in the front row with her legs crossed, a smug smile on her face. Daniel took a deep breath and stepped onto the podium. Thank you all for coming, he said, his voice steady. I'll get straight to the point. The hoe is not protecting us. They're robbing us. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Karen scoffed, shaking her head in mock disbelief. Daniel held up the financial records that Raymond had helped him collect. We have proof that hundreds of thousands of dollars from the hoe fund have been embezzled into suspicious expenses. He flipped to a page. A landscaping maintenance fee of over $100,000 per year, yet the contracting company doesn't even exist. Karen narrowed her eyes but maintained her confidence. This is nonsense, Daniel. If you have proof, take it to the authorities. Daniel smirked. Don't worry. I already sent all of this to a local journalist. The room fell into a dead silence. Karen sat up straight, her eyes flashing with something dangerous. Do you have anything to say, Mrs. Whitmore? For the first time that night, she had no immediate response. And Daniel knew he had won. But the battle wasn't over. Karen wouldn't go down so easily. Less than 24 hours after the meeting, Daniel received a letter from the HOA's legal representatives. This is an official notice that Mr. Daniel Thompson has violated community regulations, negatively impacting the HOA and its residents. If the overdue fines of $15,000 are not paid within 7 days, legal action will be taken to remove Mr. Thompson from the neighborhood. Daniel let out a bitter laugh. They acted fast. He looked around his house, the place he had worked so hard to build as a safe home for his daughters. If he lost this fight, it wouldn't just be him. His entire family would lose everything. But he had come too far to back down. And he wasn't the only one who was angry. The meeting had sparked a storm within the community. That morning, a headline appeared on the front page of the local newspaper. The truth about the hoe. Where is the residents' money going? The article exposed all the fraudulent fees, the non-existent contracts, and Karen Whitmore's abuse of power. The neighborhood erupted. People began speaking out on online forums, sharing the outrageous fines they had received over the years. Karen was panicking. She called an emergency HOA board meeting, but this time, no one trusted her anymore. Some board members secretly contacted the police, providing further evidence of embezzlement. And then, the final blow landed. One morning, as Daniel was working at his auto shop, his phone rang. Mr. Thompson? This is a federal agent. We need to speak with you about your hoe. Daniel wiped his hands, smirking. Karen had run out of options. That afternoon, as Daniel arrived home, the sound of police sirens echoed through the neighborhood. He stepped onto his porch and watched the moment he had been waiting for. Two police cars pulled up in front of the HOA office. Residents gathered, whispering among themselves. Some pulled out their phones to record, sensing something unbelievable was about to happen. And then, Karen Whitmore appeared. She stepped out of the office, still dressed in her usual elegant suit. But this time, she no longer looked so powerful. A police officer approached her, holding up a warrant. "Mrs. Karen Whitmore, you are under arrest for embezzlement, tax evasion, and abuse of power." With nowhere left to run, Karen lost control. "This is a mistake. I built this community. You people don't understand," she shrieked, but no one believed her anymore. The officers cuffed her in front of the entire neighborhood. Some people looked on in shock at how quickly she had fallen. Others clapped and cheered. Daniel stood still, watching it all. A part of him felt relieved, but he knew this wasn't just his victory, it was the community's. After Karen's downfall, the HOA was forced to reform. A new board was elected, this time overseen by the residents themselves. The ridiculous fees were abolished, and all illegally collected funds were refunded. People called Daniel a hero. He just smiled and said, "I'm not a hero. I'm just a father who wanted a better place for his kids." But everyone knew that without Daniel, they would never have been free of Karen. Daniel's story is not just about a man standing up against the HOA. It is a symbol of the fight against abuse of power. Abuse of power can happen anywhere. It can come from a small organization like an HOA or from much larger forces. But if no one speaks up, it will continue to exist, continue to exploit, and continue to oppress the vulnerable. A community is strong when it stands together. If the residents of the neighborhood remain afraid, if they keep accepting unjust rules, Karen will never be overthrown. But when people fight together, the real power belongs to them. Justice doesn't always come from the legal system. It comes from those who have the courage to say no to injustice. Daniel is not a lawyer, not a politician. He is just a father trying to protect his family. But it is ordinary people like him who bring real change. Have you ever faced similar injustices? Do you believe that one person can make a difference? Leave a comment below, share your story, and subscribe to Crazy Neighbor Drama to spread this message.